Hello everyone, Brianna Dignard here, and today we are thinking blue. So far in this photography series, we have done the history of color photography, we have developed actual color film, we've made our own developer, we've talked about wetting agents, and now we're going to do something called a cyanotype. Cyanotypes were an early form of photography that was discovered in 1842 by Sir John Herschel, who is credited with a lot of things, among others being a mathematician, a chemist, an astronomer, an inventor, and an early photographer. His sister Caroline Herschel is also a pretty rad scientist, and you know how we do love our women scientists here on this channel. But anyhow, today we're going to be cyanotyping, and I'll talk all about what that means and how we do it, so let's go ahead and get started. Cyanotypes, like other forms of photography, make use of light-sensitive chemicals that change in their composition somehow when exposed to the sunlight. Our conventional film and film photography that we've been talking about so far all are silver-based chemicals, but cyanotypes make use of iron-based chemicals, which actually means they're safer to use and easier to develop, only requiring water to develop and fix the image versus using all of those many chemicals that we've talked about in the darkroom. So that's pretty nice and makes it a really fun at-home experiment you can do. So let's first go over the materials we're going to need for this. So first you're going to need a foam brush because we're going to actually be mixing up the chemicals ourselves and applying it to our paper with our foam brush. So you need some heavyweight art paper that's acid-free and unbleached because the acid will affect the dye chemicals because of its pH. You also need whatever you want to take a cyanotype of. Classically, that has been like leaves or flowers or twigs, stuff you can gather from your yard, but you can also print out a photographic negative onto transparency paper like I have here and turn that into a cyanotype, because all you need is some sort of kind of transparency, and the sun is going to go through the clear parts of the transparency and then not get through the darker parts and create your image. You will also need a piece of plexiglass or glass in order to hold everything down in place so the wind doesn't blow it away, as well as some sort of drying implement for drying your paper once you wet it with water so you don't have to wait for it to dry if you want to speed up the drying process. And then you want some sort of stain prevention gear like an apron. And then finally we will need our cyanotype chemicals, which are not currently here, so we're going to send you over to go start mixing those up and start making our own cyanotypes. Hi, welcome back to the darkroom where we're going to start mixing our cyanotyping chemicals. So cyanotyping is composed of two iron-based chemicals and part A and part B. So for part A, we are using ferric ammonium citrate, and then for part B, we're using something called potassium ferrocyanide. Both of these are iron-based compounds. I got these off of Photographer's Supply website. You can also, which I'll link below, and you can also buy like already mixed up cyanotype chemicals in kits, or even the paper or fabric that has already had the chemicals applied to them, just straight up do cyanotypes on the internet, and I'll link a couple of those things below. But what we need are these two chemicals, my stain prevention equipment, some safety glasses, got some gloves here to protect my hands, and then we've got beakers, and we're gonna start mixing this up with mixing together the right amount of these chemicals with the right amount of water. The first thing we're going to do is weigh out our part A, which is our ferric ammonium citrate, and what we need is 25% of however much we are planning on making. So I am currently trying to plan on making 100 milliliters of solution, which means I'm going to need 25% of 100 is 25 grams. So I'm going to weigh out 25 grams of ferric ammonium citrate. That's 25 grams, and then I will add in some water and begin this stirring. And then I'm just going to fill this up until it's at 100 milliliters, which it is actually just about. I'm just going to add splash more water in there. So this should be done in lower light without any sunlight access to it. There's only one light bulb in here and I'm indoors, but you don't want to give it too much exposure to UV light or it'll start to already photoreact. So once that's all nice and mixed, we have solution A. And now that we've mixed up part A, we can make up part B, which is our potassium ferrocyanide. Now we need 10% of B for whatever we're trying to make. So for a 100 milliliter solution, we need 10 grams of B. All right, there's our 10 grams of potassium ferrocyanide. Now we're gonna mix up again just the same, adding until we are at 100 milliliters of water. And I am using distilled water for this to make sure there are no impurities that will get in our way. And that's how you make solution B. So now we have part A and part B. We are going to mix them together in a dark bottle in a 1-to-1 ratio. If you want to make a whole bunch of these chemicals and store them away for a longer period of time, don't mix together A and B until you're ready to use them. I'm going to apply this straight away to paper, so I am primed and ready to use these chemicals. Storing it in a dark colored tinted bottle and then storing said bottle in a dark place will let your chemicals last longer because it's not allowing light in the form of UV light to get to it. And don't pour out your store-bought. So I'm going to put the lid on this, mix it together, and then I'm going to go grab my paper. I've laid out my paper and now I'm going to pour the mixed up chemicals into a little beaker so I can dab at them with my foam brush and apply an even layer to all of the pieces of paper. Our paper is prepped and ready to go, and now all that's left to do is let it dry in a cool and dark environment overnight. So tomorrow we shall cyanotype. It has been 24 hours since I put the emulsion onto our paper to create our cyanotype paper, and now it's all nice and dry. We still want it to be relatively dark as we prepare a cyanotype because the paper is, of course, light sensitive. So what you're going to need is whatever you want to cyanotype with. And in this case, as I mentioned, I am using this photographic negative that I put on a transparency. You'll want your plexiglass or glass piece to hold it all in place. You want to use something heavier if you're using like thick materials like flowers or leaves. And then finally we are going to need our photographic paper, which is slightly yellow. So I'm going to quickly prepare this, just putting the transparency on top of my page and then sandwiching it down with my plexiglass face. And now we just have a nice little sandwich, and it's time to go expose this outside. Now sadly, the weather here heard cyanotype and went, we're not going to be sunny this week, but there still is enough UV rays that come through the clouds, so I'm just going to go ahead and do it because at least it's not raining, and that's what the rest of the week's forecast is supposed to be. So I'm going to go put this outside. In the cloudy weather, it's going to take a lot longer to develop, and you're going to want to take it in when it starts to turn kind of a darkish brown color. So in sunlight, that could be anywhere from a couple of minutes. On a cloudy day, it could be 20 to 30 minutes to even an hour. We're going to go find out. Let's take a look at the chemistry going on here. Just like with developing film, there's a transfer of electrons that occur that's going to reduce one compound and oxidize in another. Instead of happening between film and developer, now when the paper is exposed to sunlight, the iron in the ferric ammonium citrate gets really excited and full of energy. The iron is going to take an electron from the citrate molecule that's attached to it. This reduces the iron, and then the citrate is going to get oxidized. Now that our cyanotype is all done exposing, and it's been out there for like an hour and 16 minutes, and the sun was going down, so I was like, I gotta take this in anyway. It's time to rinse it with water and cause the chemicals to develop. Now the reduced iron is going to combine with the potassium ferrocyanide and form the blue coloring that is known as Prussian blue. This is insoluble in water, and this is why you can rinse it in water to develop it. And when you rinse it to develop a print, the paper turns blue because of the contact with oxygen in the air, which oxidizes the compounds and forms a blue color. After rinsing your cyanotype, the final step is hanging it up to dry. And I am so pleased with how it turned out, given the fact that it was cloudy and sunset. And I've actually never made a cyanotype using a photographic negative before. I've only ever used like leaves and flowers. So personally, I had a lot of fun with this project. It's the first time I've ever mixed up these chemicals as well. So it was just a whole large amount of fun. I hope you all decide to make your own cyanotypes at home, whether that being mixing your own chemicals, buying a pre-made kit, or even just going out and buying the cyanotype paper itself. It is a super fun project for people of all ages and a wonderful way to learn about iron-based photochemistry. So go out and make your own cyanotypes. I know I'll be making plenty more of them myself. Today's fun fact we're gonna rate in the comments on a scale of 1 to 10 is that cyanotypes and blueprints use the same chemicals. So blueprints are blue for the same reason cyanotypes are blue. Pretty cool, right? Please like this video, subscribe to my channel, check me out on Instagram, tell all your friends about it. Go forth and experiment with cyanotypes. Is that fun? And again, thank you for watching and keep it sciencey!